Hello everyone, happy Monday and welcome to Ask Me Monday. I'm Vickie Howell and this is episode number 69. So first off, I love hearing about what you were working on over the weekend. Were you knitting? Were you crocheting? Were you crafting? Were you building? Were you making of any form? Let us know. Tell us where you're watching from. And when I say us, I don't mean both of my personalities. I mean all of our community that's watching right now. Tell everyone where you're watching from and also what you made. And if you have pictures, share those in the comment section because I love spying what everybody else is making. It's really fun. I worked a little bit on something I'm really late on. It's this huge, you can't even tell what it is right now. It's this huge Noro like fireside wrap that I'm making for the Noro anniversary book that's coming out, I guess next year, I would assume. Hello, LaDonna. Hello, Kathleen. And I'm not going to kid you, I'm a little bit late on getting it done. So I've got to finish that. I've got to get off of the interwebs and finish that. So I spent some time over the weekend, a little bit at least, knitting on that. And really, gosh, I had actually kind of a crazy longer weekend. I think some of you knew that because I was late getting Craftish up. But Craftish is up now. For those of you that listen to the Craftish podcast, the latest episode with host Marley Bird is on. She's the host of I'm the host, guest Marley Bird. She's the host of Yarn Thing, the podcast, and she's also the Red Heart spokesperson, and she's become a friend. Very, very fun, like gregarious, lovely woman. And so you can check that out wherever it is that you listen to your podcasts. If maybe podcasts are a little new to you, you can always just go to vickiehowell.com/craftish and you can listen right from my website. Hi, Karen. Nice to see you. And Ruth from El Segundo. Hey, Ruth, I grew up in Torrance, right by El Segundo. Nice to see you there. All right. So today what I thought we would do is probably months ago, it was probably Chris Lopez, I'm not going to kid you, somebody asked if I would do a tutorial on corner-to-corner crochet. And I had sort of a packed schedule up until now, but I decided yesterday that today is the day that I would do that. Oh, I'm sorry. So I was talking about a crazy weekend. Thank you, Rose, just got me back on track. So our dog, so I live in Texas and there's a lot of land in Texas. That's just how it is. And so we live on over an acre, even though we live in the suburbs, like normal neighborhood. And our dog, Rio, got attacked by a deer on Thursday. And it was crazy. It's fawn season. She was probably protecting her baby, but she jumped over our 6-foot fence, the deer, and we think came down with her hoof through the back of our dog's back and tore all the way around underneath to her chest. But the force of the kick was so hard that it cauterized right there. So she barely having trouble speaking today. So she barely bled at all. It was crazy. So she has about 5-6 inches of stitches on her back, externally, internally about 12 inches. But she's an old broad. She's 12 and she's acting like nothing's normal. She's amazing. She's doing well. It's crazy that she didn't get any bones broken or anything. So thank you for asking about her. We're all doing well now, but that did derail some of our work stuff, you know. So that's where we're at there. All right. Now back to the topic of the show, which is corner-to-corner crochet. So I'm going to go over a couple different methods today. One is I think the most popular one that I've seen, well, most recently popular one that I see everywhere, especially on a lot of the craft yarn websites right now, and that is the block method. So it looks a little something like this. And thank you guys for all the love for Rio, for my dog. We appreciate it. So this is the first method that we're gonna go over to. So all corner-to-corner crochet means, as the name would infer, is that you begin at one corner. You work until the width is whatever width that you want your square or whatever the pattern calls for, and then you decrease. So you're working corner to corner, tip to tip, right? So I'm going to show you that, and then if we have time, I didn't decide I wanted to do this until right before I hit live, or a little bit before. So we'll see if we get to it. But I designed this pillow for Interweave Crochet, gosh, maybe 3 years ago. It was when I had a column with them, and it was when Sheepish was out, so this has been a while back. But this is corner to corner granny stripes. So same idea, corner, worked until it was as wide as I wanted for my pillow, then decreased, just a different stitch. And really though, we're only going to be working with mostly, I say just different stitch, but it's really just a stitch pattern. We're working mostly in double crochet today if you're in the US. If you're in the UK or Canada, that is treble crochet. So I'll try and go back and forth throughout the tutorial. And also as soon as we're done, well, give me 30 minutes after we're done. If you're watching this live, if you're watching this on Monday the 8th, give me about 30 minutes to get it up on my blog at VickieHowell.com, and I'll have actual practice swatch instructions. It's almost ready to go, but I want to be able to embed the video too. So you'll be able to go there so that you can practice this right after. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that usual thing where I flip the camera around and it's a wee bit ugly. So this is where you talk amongst yourself and you avert your eyes until I'm all set up. Okay? All right, let's do this. Okay. So we're going to begin today with any yarn that you would like to use and a corresponding hook. It's really fun with this method if you play with these yarns. Well, you can't barely tell because I've used most of this, but these yarns that start with a color in the center and move outwards because they're spun this way, they're dyed and then or rather wound this way. This is by Freya Farber. She, I think, is actually the first person who, actually sold yarn this way. And then a lot of the craft companies dove on board. All right, so we're going to start with a slip knot. And we are going to chain 6. Then from there, we are going to double crochet if you're in the US, treble if you're not, in the the 4th chain from the hook. So this loop right here doesn't count, but this wee baby one that you can barely see does. 1, 2, 3, 4. So to double crochet or treble crochet, depending where you are, yarn over, pull through 1, now you've established, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops twice. Okay, so that's 1. Then you need to double crochet in the next 2 chains. And thank you, Anissa Ann, for sharing. If you can share this video, that really helps us. And when I say us, I mean me, again. Sometimes when you're working alone in a studio but talking to people from around the world, you switch your words around. Okay, so you're going to work 2 more for a total of 4 double crochet. So that's 3 double crochet or treble crochet outside of the US, plus the chains that we did at the beginning will count as another one. This whole little wee baby nubbin that we've just created counts as 1 block. So this method I'm calling the block method. It may have another name, but that's what we're calling it here. So then we're going to turn. So that's your row 1. So for row 2, you're going to repeat the process only without the slip knot. So we're going to chain 6. And then we're going to do the same thing that we did at the beginning. We are going to double crochet or treble crochet in the 6th or 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I don't like that loop is ugly. I'm going to do that again. Pull that out. 4th chain from the hook. Double crochet, and then I'm going to double crochet in the next 2 chains. For this method, you're only increasing by 1 block, so one of these guys per row. So now we've got our 1 here, but we need 1 more so that we have 2 in this row. So we are going to actually skip the first, the second, and the third double crochet or treble crochet from the row below and work right in between, in the space in between the third and the fourth. Oops. And we're going to slip stitch to get us over there. Also, what that's doing, because we're slip stitching and not just working a double crochet over there, see what just happened? That just gave us our little tip, just tipped us sideways, which is going to give us the corner, the point of our triangle. So now from here we chain 3, and this 3 chains, this chain 3 will count as your first double crochet, and then you're going to work 3 more. Hi Mildred from Puerto Rico. Man, and we've got someone from Portugal watching and Brazil. Awesome. Okay, so now let me redo that. Slid right off my hook. We have 4. So each of these blocks, just to reiterate, has 4 double crochets. Now, one of those double crochets is sometimes chains, but we get what that means. And again, that's in the US term. In the British term, it would be a treble. Okay, so now we've got 2. So what we're going to do now is turn and repeat that process. Chain 6. Caddy said she's going to learn to crochet soon. I have online crochet courses if you are interested at Creative Live. A bunch of them, like maybe 4 of them at least. All right, and then we're going to go in double crochet into the 4th chain from hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then work the double crochets. What did I just do? Let's do that again. I don't know what I just did, but it was not right. Okay, so we have chain 6. We're going to double crochet or treble crochet, depending where you are, in that 4th chain from hook. And then in the next 2. So are you getting the pattern? We've already established the pattern, how it's going to work. Each increasing block is happening because you're doing that establishing chain 6. Katerina, yes, this video will be available to watch later. It will automatically be posted on Facebook at Vickie Howell /videos. Okay, so from here, that's our 1. From here, we need to get, again, we're going to skip this next, almost the whole block. So we skip 1, 2, 3 double crochets, and we're going to work in the space between the 3rd and the 4th again. So exactly like we did before, only we have an additional one. First, we're going to slip stitch so that we continue to knock that one over on its side so that we're continuing with our angle. And then we're going to chain 3. And the written directions for these swatches will be on my website at vickiehowell.com. Okay, from here we're going to do 3 more double crochets or treble crochets if you're in the UK. And there's our 2nd block. Okay, but we know that we had 2 the row below, we had 1 the row below that, so we're growing 1 block every row. So we're going to skip again. Every time we work a new block, we skip the first 3 double crochets from the block below it. 1, 2, 3. So now we're going to work on the end. We're going to slip stitch over there to get us where we need to be. Chain 3. And then work our 3 double / treble crochets. And that's all there is to it. You're going to just continue in that manner, increasing 1 block every row until the piece is as wide as you want it to be. So I have done that here. And you can see how it really starts to form. All right, so as you can see, this is about the same size, or probably exactly the same size as half of this square. So now we are ready to start decreasing. Thank you, Skippy Carver, for sharing the video. I really appreciate it. All right, so just as we increased 1 block per row, every row, we are also now on the way down, it makes sense, way back, we're going to decrease 1 block per row, every row. So to do that, so we ended our last row, we're going to turn, and we are going to slip stitch in the first 3 double crochets. And we're going to work our first block of this row in that chain space, or excuse me, in that space between the 3rd and 4th double crochet. Then we chain 3, and we're going to work those 3 other double crochets that we know makes our block. Then we also know that we need to go to our next block, which means we skip the next 1, 2, 3 double crochets, and we slip stitch in between that space from the 3rd and 4th, and we also know that's what's going to give us our angle. So you can see now we've created our point. Rose, I'm glad that this is making sense for you. It's not complicated once you're actually working on it. I really recommend that you go back and rewatch this video with yarn in hand after this. It'll make a lot of sense. Okay, so we're going to, again, keep skipping over the first 3 double crochets or treble crochets, and then working, chaining 3 after we've slip stitched to that spot in between the 3rd and 4th posts. And you're going to do that all the way to the end. Thank you, Rose, for sharing this video. I appreciate it. And we're going to continue doing this, and I'm just going to go ahead and work all the way to the end just so you can see how I'm turning again. And this is a really fun method to use for afghans just because it kind of, working on blankets can get a little boring because you're doing the same thing every row, but you are not if you work corner to corner. You'll always feel like you're watching it grow and then shrink, which brings a little more interest to a piece. Okay, so I'm slipping my stitch. Working my chain 3s and then my 3 double crochets, trebles if you're in the UK. Okay, we're almost there. Chain 3, and then 3 double crochets. Okay. Then we're going to work over to the last space of the last block from the row below. And then we'll turn our piece. We will not continue working. So we've actually kind of done a decrease on both ends, but they're different rows. So it's really just going to count as one. And then we're going to repeat the whole thing again where we slip stitch in the first 3 double crochets and then begin our row, slip stitch in between the space between the 3rd and 4th double crochet, and then we'll begin the whole row again. And that's how you would work the entire decrease section until you get to your last. Can you see there how there's the little pointy point? Okay, so then what it'll look like when you get to the last, your last little guy, you can see how it's all come together. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to slip stitch into the third or the first 3 double crochets. slip stitch into that fourth, or the space between the third and the fourth, and then I'm going to work my last little block. Then from here, I'm just going to go skip all of the posts that I've been doing so far, and I'm going to slip stitch in that space in between the third and the fourth double crochet or treble crochet from the row below. And I'm just going to slip stitch into it to join. Then I will cut my yarn and fasten off. And that is all that there is to that kind of business. Again, I will have the sample swatch directions on VickieHowell.com about 30 minutes after this live broadcast takes place. All right, how are we feeling? Do we want to see the granny stripe one, or are we ready to bail? We're already 20 minutes into it, so we may be ready to bail, but I can try and do kind of a quick and dirty one if you'd like. All right, let's do it. Why not? We're here. Come on, everyone. All right, so let me grab this pillow. So for the granny stripe version, what we're going to be doing is building clusters. Okay, so we're going to start with one cluster and then go, and much like with the block version, we will only be adding one. It was a block with the other one, and this will be one cluster every row. So one, and then there's two in the next one, three in the next one, and so on and so on and so on. So to do that, we're going to start by chaining 4. I'm going to do that again. Sometimes having to straddle the camera means I'm not be able to see my hands. 3, 4, 4. Okay, so we're going to chain 4. And you are going to do 2 double crochet, treble if you're outside of the US, in the 4th chain of the hook. So that's actually going to be the very first one for this method. So we'll yarn over, pull through 2 loops twice. So we're going to do 2 of those in that same exact chain. So right there in that very first one, which is also the 4th from the hook. And so that little cuteness right there is your first cluster. So a cluster consists of 3 double crochets or treble crochets, depending on where you are, one of which is going to be 3 chains often. So 3 chains is the same height as a double crochet in the States or treble outside of the States. All right, so that's row 1. So we're going to turn. Now we know that we need to have 2 clusters for this row for the corner to corner method. So to do that, we are going to chain 3, and this is going to count as our first double crochet. And then in that same stitch we just worked those chain 3, we're going to work 2 more double crochets or trebles. And that'll create our first cluster. Then we want to chain 1 to give us a little give, because we're going to jump over this space. We're going to skip this one, and we're going to work in the very last stitch where we're going to work 3 double crochets. And unlike in the method that we talked about before, we don't want to slip stitch first because we're not trying to tip anything over on its side. So we just work straight up stitch at the end. There, and that's our second. See, and you can already see it forming. Tiffany's asking about the brand. Let's see, this one is a tulip. I have a bunch of different ones in front of me. I just kind of grabbed all of my, I think this one's a boy, this one's clover. I just kind of grabbed whatever. The hook doesn't matter for this project, nor does the yarn. It's just whatever makes you happy and what you have in hand. Okay, so then we're going to turn. We're in our 3rd row, which means we need to have 3 clusters. So again, we've chained 3 to start. And we're going to work 2 double slash trebles in that first one. Then we need a chain stitch to jump over this entire cluster Now this time we're going to be working in that chain one space. Granny stitches, granny stripes, granny squares are always made up of staggered clusters. So this is what's going to stagger. So we're going to work 3 of our post stitches. I'm just going to start calling them post stitches, and then you'll know it's either a double or a treble depending on where you are in the world. In that chain one space, chain another one, skip over the next 2 double crochet, and then you're going to work 3 double crochet. Oh, darn it, I meant post stitches or treble crochet. See, I thought that I had mastered it. I had not. Hi, Britain. Nice to see you there. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I've always said Britain, but I don't actually know how to pronounce it. It's morning there. I wonder where you're watching from. All right, so now we have 3. So I'm going to do one more row here. You've probably got it, but I'm kind of digging on this, so I'm going to just to show you. But now we've already established how this is going to work. We're always going to start with a chain 3 to build us up to the height of the rest of the post stitches. We'll work 2 more into that same stitch, chain 1 to give us the allowance to jump over these next 2 stitches, and then 3 post stitches in that chain 1 space from the row below. So we've created our second cluster, chain 1, skip over that next cluster below, and then we're going to work 3 post stitches in the next chain 1 space. Oh, Washington. I'm going to be in Washington next month, I think, for a shoot. So yay. Okay, chain 1. Sorry, I was having a little conversation with Britain. I got a little sidetracked. Okay, so now we are at the very end of this row. We're going to skip over these 2 and again work in that last. And the last stitch, because you're working in chains, is always going to be a little persnickety. Just kind of jab it wherever. Just make it work. It's no big deal. And you're going to work 3. So that's all there is to it, that you would just keep increasing until your piece was as wide as you want your total square to be. And once you get there, I don't know, I had another piece. I realized that my other piece that I had prepped is probably smaller than this one, so I might as well use it. All right, so now let's talk decreasing. So to decrease, at this point we've had more clusters than we have had chain spaces, just fun fact, and that'll be noted on the pattern on my website. From now on, it'll happen in reverse, so you're going to have more chain spaces than clusters. Okay, so we're going to chain 4, and this will count as a double crochet plus a chain 1 because we are skipping over this whole entire first cluster. And then we're going to work our regular, our regular cluster in the next chain space. Hello, Marguerite from Brazil. So nice to see you here. Chain 1. Work our 3 post stitches in the next chain space. Yes, Rose, there'll be practice swatches for both methods, this one as well, on VickieHowell.com. Work the last one. And then, because we don't want it to increase, you're going to work all the way until this last cluster. You're going to skip the 2 as you normally would, but instead of working 3 double crochets or treble crochets in this last stitch, we're only going to work 1. And that, see what that does? I'm going to set it down so you can kind of see. That double crochet mirrors the chain 4 that we did. The space here and the double crochet mirrors the chain 4 that we did on this other side, if that makes sense. Hello, Rodica from Romania, or Rodica. I hope I'm not massacring your name, from Romania. So nice to have you here. Man, I love this global community. So amazing. All right, and then from here, you're just going to continue in this manner. It's actually a lot simpler than the other method. You really just, you're kind of just one and done. So again, you're going to continue in the same manner. You're going to chain 4. You're going to skip over and work in your clusters. Now, the one thing to note in this method that is different from the block method that we showed earlier, because you're working with these chains, your edging is not going to be quite as stable. So if you are ending up making a pillow or something, you may want to go do a round of single crochet if you're in the US, double crochet if you're not, around just before seaming. Daniela, when will the knit show start? The entire season, first season of the knit show, will go live this October. For those of you unfamiliar, I am producing the first crowd-funded, studio quality, internationally accessible knitting and crochet series, and that is going to be available for everyone worldwide to binge watch in October. We are in pre-production now. Super excited about it. Okay, so you're going to keep going all the way until the end, until you get to the last chain space. So this little guy here, and you're going to work one more post stitch, and that will mirror. And then you would just keep doing that until you get to the end and you have one left, and you'd fasten off just as you would really at any point in any crochet project, just how you'd fasten off. Sherry, why not call it Knit and Crochet Show? Because more things rhyme with knit, to be honest with you. And I had a little inside joke with myself that if I couldn't get this Kickstarter thing going, if I called it the Knit Show, if it all failed, the new name could just write itself. So it was kind of just an inside joke with myself. And to be honest with you, I have probably 70% crochet follower or knit followers and probably only 30% crochet. Now, that percentage is really skewed because some do both, but I had to sort of go with the nitty-gritty audience and hope that I can slowly put more and more crochet in it, but there will definitely be a hearty episode. In fact, we're working on an all amigurumi episode right now, so super excited. Okay, I don't know why I'm talking to you while you're looking at a swatch. I could have had that conversation face to face, as it were. Whoa, you just got what my friend would have called high-def freck, which is a lot of freckles in your face. All right, so that's it. It's called crochet or corner to corner crochet. You will also see it called C2C crochet. Maureen, it will be on YouTube, so it's not a channel. Anybody anywhere can watch the show. You can actually, while we're talking about it, there on Instagram, we have a The Knit Show Instagram feed now, especially for it, and I'm trying to put up pretty pictures of guests and yarn companies that are supporting us and needle companies that are supporting us. So check that out. Please subscribe there. Also on Facebook, there is a The Knit Show Facebook page. If you want to go ahead and like that and follow it, eventually, once the show goes live, that'll be kind of a hub where we can share our projects together. Maybe we'll do knit-alongs there. That'll be kind of the place where we can really communicate. And then I've started a YouTube channel, but because I don't have a direct URL yet, it has to be up for 30 days. I haven't really been promoting that yet. It's a little bit hard to find. So if you can find it, awesome, subscribe, but I will give you a little shout out with the exact information when we do have it. All right, the last thing, let's see, I went over crafters, so that's good. Knit show. Oh, there weren't a ton of questions because I waited until last night to put up the image. The only question that I grabbed well, there were a couple, but the only one that I could cover today was from Catherine Craft. I feel like I should have that last name, but whatever. And she wanted to know, when is it beneficial to crochet in the round versus joining in the round? So I'm not entirely sure what you mean, but I'm gonna guess you're wondering when it's better to crochet something flat and then sew it up, and when it's better to join in the round right away and start crocheting in the round. So most of the time, it's really whether or not you want a seam, right? If you don't want a visible seam, it's way better to just, crochet in the round from the beginning. And if you're working on something sculptural, like an amigurumi, like a little stuffed animal or some kind of, object like that, it'll come together a lot easier. But if you don't care about that, it really doesn't matter. You can sew up really most flat pieces. I just usually say if there's a lot of shaping, it's just easier with crochet. So I hope that answered your question. I hope that's what you meant by it. I will see you, I'll see you probably next week. I think we have a show set up for next Ask Me Monday. So you can find me live every Monday here at 12 o'clock Central Time. That's 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. in the UK. I don't know. Oh, that would be fun. If you're watching from a different country, will you please tell me what time that you tuned in on so I can see the different times of day and night? I would love that. So I'll see you then. I also had another episode of Makers with Vickie by Makers Mercantile on Friday. So just last Friday. And we made this really awesome wearable art piece with roving, and it was so cool. And I also have a pattern from them there for a knit scarf. So check that out. You can find that at facebook.com/VickieHowell/videos. As you can always find the rest of the Ask Me Mondays. There are 68 other episodes of this. So if you're looking for something to watch, we always have great tutorials, and we're here for you. So I will jump on the boards and answer questions where I can. Please feel free to talk amongst yourself. Remember, these are community boards, and you're a global community, as we've seen today. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your week. Bye.